There comes a moment in every soul's journey when life stops making sense in the way it used to. The plans you held on to unravel. The people you leaned on drift away. The path you once followed with certainty now feels foggy and strange. And in the silence that follows the collapse, a question rises, not from your mind, but from a deeper place inside you. A place that is not confused at all. A place that knows. This is not a breakdown. This is a sacred invitation. When the universe begins to shift everything around you, it is not trying to hurt you. It is preparing to reveal you. You are not being rejected. You are being initiated. The fire you feel is not punishment. It is purification. The life that is falling apart is the life that can no longer carry the weight of your becoming. And the parts of you that ache, the versions of you that feel like they are dying, are the masks being peeled away so something truer can rise. Carl Jung often spoke of the night sea journey, a symbolic descent into darkness that precedes transformation. This is that moment when all your old patterns, attachments, and identities no longer protect you. When the soul no longer wants to be hidden behind performance. It wants to breathe. It wants to live through you, not around you. And for that to happen, everything false must fall. If you feel like everything is slipping through your fingers, do not grip harder. That discomfort is not failure. It is the friction of your soul expanding beyond who you used to be. It is the quiet storm before emergence. You are not being asked to be strong. You are being asked to be real, to surrender, to trust that the collapse is not chaos. It is alignment. It is truth doing its sacred work, shaking loose all that is no longer meant for the next version of you. The world does not always recognize those being transformed. In fact, it may distance itself. You may find yourself alone, misunderstood, or even judged. But this is what it feels like to be chosen by something greater than yourself. Not everyone will understand. Not everyone is meant to. Because this isn't their calling, it's yours. So if you are standing in the middle of your life, surrounded by endings, emptied of answers, stripped of comfort, breathe. You have not been abandoned. You have been summoned. The universe does not call the convenient. It calls the ready. And when it does not come quietly. It comes with fire. And now, the fire is in you. It is one thing to ask for a new life, but another to become the version of yourself who can live it. Many people pray for healing, for peace, for love that does not hurt. But the universe does not respond only to words or intentions. It listens to vibration. It responds to truth. And the truth is not what you say you want. It is what your energy keeps choosing. This is why your old patterns come knocking just as you feel ready to move forward. Why does the person who broke your trust resurface just as you swore you would never settle again? Why does the job that burned you out suddenly offer a raise, tempting you back into a cycle that once drained your soul? The test is not always dramatic. Sometimes it shows up quietly. A familiar craving, an old coping mechanism, an offer that looks like an opportunity but feels like betrayal in slow motion. These moments are not sent to punish you, they are sent to reveal you, to ask you one sacred question: have you truly changed? Carl Jung wrote that you do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. In other words, your transformation is not measured by how well you perform your highest self when life feels good. It is revealed by the choices you make when life tests you with what you once settled for. Imagine a woman who has spent decades people-pleasing, saying yes when she means no, molding herself to avoid conflict. After years of inner work, she decides to set boundaries. She says a quiet no to an invitation that feels out of alignment, and almost immediately, She feels guilt rise, fear of disappointing others, shame for choosing herself. This is the test, not from a cruel universe, but from a soul that wants to know if the healing is real. She passes the test, not by avoiding discomfort, but by staying rooted in truth when the old self tries to return. These tests are sacred thresholds. They do not require perfection, they require presence, the ability to pause, to feel, and to ask, is this decision coming from fear or from wholeness? From my old identity or my new becoming? Each time you respond differently, your frequency shifts. Each time you say no to what used to keep you small, you say yes to what is ready to grow. The universe does not deny you, but to deepen you, to ensure that what comes next will not collapse under the weight of your unhealed past. You may think you are waiting for the door to open, but often the door is waiting for you to become someone who no longer knocks from insecurity, but enters from self-trust. So when you find yourself facing the same temptation, the same conflict, the same fork in the road that once broke you, do not be discouraged. This is not the past returning. This is the moment your future is watching. And your response here tells the universe everything it needs to know. You are not being tested to break. You are being tested to reveal how ready you are to receive what you once only imagined. And when your frequency finally matches your prayers, the universe responds, not with resistance, but with release. There comes a point on every transformational path where the noise fades and nothing seems to move. After the breakdown, after the initial fire of awakening, you expect clarity. You expect a sign, a door to open, a voice to say, "This is the way." But what you get instead is silence. Not soft and soothing, but deafening in its stillness. A kind of emotional emptiness that feels like the universe has forgotten your name. You wake up one morning and the energy that once drove you is gone. The routines that once inspired you feel pointless. You try to meditate but feel disconnected. You ask for guidance and receive nothing. This is not failure. This is not backtracking. This is the chrysalis. Carl Jung often spoke of the night sea journey, the time when consciousness enters the unknown. It is not a punishment. It is a passage. It is the moment your ego can no longer lead the way, and your deeper self begins to emerge. But before it can guide you, it needs silence. Because only in silence can your true voice begin to speak. Think of the seasons. After autumn strips away what no longer serves, winter arrives. Everything appears lifeless. Trees look bare, soil seems still, but underneath roots deepen. Earth rests, life prepares. So too does the soul. When the universe goes quiet, it is not shutting you out. It is rooting you inward. It is creating space where your attachments, identities, and illusions can fall away. A man once told me that after his divorce, he spent months feeling nothing. No inspiration, no clarity. He said it was like watching his life through frosted glass. He couldn't feel God, he couldn't feel purpose. But in that stillness, he stopped performing. He stopped chasing answers. And one day, in a moment as ordinary as folding laundry, a truth surfaced from within him that he had never heard before. I was never abandoned. I was just being emptied of everything false. The silence is not the end of the conversation. It is the moment when the noise of your old life becomes quiet enough for your soul to be heard. It is in this space that new wisdom forms, but not from thinking, from surrender, from being willing to sit in the unknown without needing to escape it. Healing is not always dramatic. Sometimes the deepest shift happens in stillness. The world will tell you that silence is dangerous, that if nothing is happening, You must make something happen. But the soul knows otherwise. The soul knows that the cocoon must close completely before the wings can form. So, if you are in that strange space where everything feels paused and your prayers feel unanswered, breathe. This is not the absence of movement. It is the sacred still point before transformation takes shape. The universe has not gone cold. It is watching. It is listening. It is waiting for you to hear what can only be heard when the rest of the world goes quiet. Do not rush this silence. Do not fill it. Let it teach you. Let it soften you. Let it show you that what you thought was stillness was really preparation. What you thought was abandonment was really arrival. This is not where it ends. This is where it begins. It often arrives at night, in moments of vulnerability, not as chaos, but as comfort. Just when you think you've outgrown the old version of yourself, something returns. Soothing, familiar, and strangely magnetic. It might be an old relationship you swore you were done with, a job that once made you feel valuable, a coping habit dressed as relief. On the surface it looks like a blessing, but beneath it, something darker stirs. A quiet whisper from your past, offering a shortcut back to safety. This is no coincidence. It is not random. It is a test wrapped in tenderness. And it always comes before the breakthrough. Carl Jung wrote that what we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate. The universe knows your patterns. It knows where your wounds still ache and where your self-trust is still soft. So before it grants you the next level of life, it asks a final question. Will you betray yourself to feel temporarily secure? Or will you walk away from the known to meet the version of you that does not need saving? A woman once shared how, after months of inner healing and finally learning to set boundaries, her ex called. The same man who once gaslit her, who made her question her worth, now said all the right things. He was tender, apologetic. He had changed. She almost said yes. But something in her body said no. Not from fear, but from wisdom. Not because she hated him, but because she no longer needed to prove she was lovable to someone who never truly saw her. This is what the final test feels like. It is not loud. It is seductive. It invites you to shrink again into who you used to be, just when you were about to rise into who you were always meant to become. The dark invitation often cloaks itself in nostalgia. It reminds you of how things used to feel before you knew better. It appeals to the part of you that wants to rest, to settle, to belong. But the truth is, what feels safe may only be familiar, and what feels unknown may be the only door your soul has been waiting to walk through. You are not weak for being tempted, you are human. But you are also being initiated. The final test is not about saying no to the past with anger. It is about saying yes to the future with clarity. It is not about fighting the old energy. It is about no longer feeding it. Not out of punishment, but out of reverence for the life that is calling you forward. This is where transformation solidifies. Not in the moment you break down, but at the moment you choose not to go back. Healing means honoring how far you've come, even when no one claps for you. It means recognizing the invitation for what it is, a mirror, a final flicker of your former self asking, "Are we really done?" And with love, you answer, "Yes." Walk forward, even if your knees tremble, even if no one comes with you, because the you who is waiting on the other side is more whole, more rooted, more free than you've ever known. The breakthrough does not come with fireworks, it comes with a choice, and the moment you make it, the universe exhales with you. You passed. There comes a time in your transformation when the world around you begins to feel strangely distant. Old friendships dissolve without drama. The group chats go quiet. The energy in certain places starts to feel heavy, like wearing clothes that no longer fit. You may even wonder if you are the problem, if your growth has made you cold, disconnected, and too different to belong. But what feels like isolation is often the hand of the universe pulling you inward, not away. Carl Jung taught that the self must go through a period of withdrawal in order to return renewed. In psychological terms, this is the stage where your inner world restructures. In spiritual terms, it is sacred protection. The universe is not punishing you, it is filtering your field. It is removing distractions that could derail the quiet, miraculous process unfolding inside of you. When you are about to level up, your energetic boundaries harden naturally. You begin to repel what no longer resonates, not out of bitterness, but because your soul is conserving its power for what is coming next. This is why certain relationships fade without closure. Why does the room you once lit up suddenly feel dim? Why even loved ones might say, "You've changed," and mean it like it's a flaw. But the truth is, you are no longer available for conversations that drain you or patterns that deplete you. You are learning the language of alignment, and that means not everything can come with you. One man in his late 40s once described how, after a deep inner shift, his longtime group of friends stopped inviting him out. At first, he felt wounded, rejected. But as he sat alone on weekends that used to be filled with noise, he started writing again, something he had not done in years. Eventually, those quiet hours became the birthplace of a new chapter. He later published a book that helped thousands of people. What began as loneliness became a bridge back to himself. That is the mystery of this phase. You are not losing connection. You are being rerouted to an authentic connection, the kind that does not require you to dim your light or shrink your truth, the kind that finds you when you are fully aligned, not just available. In Jungian thought, individuation demands separation before reunion. You step away not to isolate forever, but to come home to who you really are. From that home, the right people will find you, not because you chased them, but because you became visible to them by standing in your own energy. If you are in this quiet place now, where the world seems distant and your heart wonders why, trust the space. The silence is sacred. The solitude is not a void. It is a sanctuary. This is your chrysalis. Do not rush out of it. Do not fill the silence just to feel less alone. What you feel as emptiness is where your soul is recalibrating. The universe is not keeping people from you, it is keeping the wrong ones out until you are strong enough to welcome the right ones in. Let the distance happen. Let the energy shift. Let people misunderstand your silence. You are not being left behind, you are being lifted beyond. And when it is time to re-emerge, you will not return the same. You will return clearer, lighter, and surrounded by those who recognize your real frequency, not your mask, not your past, but your presence. You are not alone. You are being protected. There comes a season in your life when everything that once held you begins to release you. Not gently, not gradually, but all at once. The career you spent years building suddenly feels empty. The relationship you thought would last forever unravels without warning. The version of yourself you worked so hard to perfect begins to feel like a costume. And, as the pieces fall away, panic rises. You ask yourself, why now? Why everything at the same time? But what feels like chaos is often clarity in disguise. Carl Jung wrote that the psyche has its own timing, a rhythm that doesn't obey the ego's plans. When the soul is ready to rise, anything unaligned must collapse. Not because you've failed, but because you've outgrown it. The old self can no longer contain the truth of who you are becoming. This is why the unraveling feels personal, sudden, ruthless. But if you step back, you will see a pattern. The endings are not random. They are interconnected like a domino chain set in motion by something deeper than logic. The universe is not punishing you. It is pruning you. It is clearing space for the life you secretly longed for, but were too entangled to receive. One woman in her early 40s shared how within 3 months she lost her job, ended a 10-year relationship, and had to move out of the home she loved. For weeks, she couldn't eat or sleep. She described it as being erased from her own life. But in that emptiness, she began painting again, a hobby she had buried decades ago. That creative spark turned into a side business. That business led her to a new city, where she met a community that mirrored her soul. None of it could have happened if she had stayed where she was. What feels like the end is often the gateway. The truth is, your soul already knows what is coming, but your old identity cannot carry it. And so the universe, in its mysterious wisdom, removes everything that would weigh you down in the next chapter, not to hurt you, but to prepare you. You cannot fly while holding on to anchors. This is why multiple doors may close at once, not because you are cursed, but because you are being rerouted. The heartbreak, the job loss, the disconnection from old friends, they are not separate events. They are the same invitation. Let go. Let go of what no longer nourishes you. Let go of who you thought you had to be. Let go of the belief that endings mean failure. In Jungian psychology, transformation requires dissolution. The caterpillar must break down completely before becoming the butterfly. There is no shortcut through this, only surrender. So, if everything is falling apart, pause. Breathe. Look deeper. Ask yourself not why is this happening to me, but what is trying to emerge through me. Because what is coming is not a return to the past. It is the arrival of your alignment. The relationship that matches your truth. The work that sets your soul on fire. The self that no longer seeks permission to exist. Trust the falling away. It is sacred. Let what must go, go. And welcome the unknown like a long-lost home. This is not the end of your life. This is the end of your limits. There are moments in life when logic steps aside and something quieter begins to stir within you. You cannot trace it to a specific reason. Nothing around you may look different. The bills are still on the table. The daily routines still repeat themselves. Yet deep inside, something is shifting. A subtle sense of anticipation begins to hum beneath the surface of your everyday life. You feel it in the stillness before sleep, in the way your body exhales when you walk into nature. It is not anxiety, it is present, a knowing without explanation. This is not your imagination playing tricks on you. It is your intuition waking up. Carl Jung spoke of the self as a timeless part of the psyche, the essence of who we are beyond persona and past. And when the self begins to rise, it often does not speak in words. It speaks in energy, a pulse, a magnetic pull towards something unseen but deeply familiar. You do not know exactly what is coming, but you know something is. And this knowing is not based on hope. It is based on inner resonance. The soul always remembers what the mind forgets. One man in his late 50s described how, after months of career uncertainty and personal grief, he began to feel strangely peaceful. He had no plan, no job lined up, yet each morning he woke up with a sense of readiness. It was as if something was whispering, "Prepare." So he did. He began writing again, reconnecting with old dreams. And within a few months, A publishing opportunity he never sought found him. It did not happen because he forced it. It happened because he aligned with it. When that quiet voice inside you becomes louder than the fear around you, that is not a coincidence. That is a signal. The world may still look unchanged, but your perception is the first place where change begins. And that change will always begin with a feeling before it ever becomes a fact. The challenge is to trust that feeling when there is nothing visible to validate it. But this is what faith truly is. Not blind belief, but intuitive memory. Your soul knows when something sacred is on the horizon. You might be drawn to clear your space, or you suddenly crave solitude. You find yourself releasing old grudges or revisiting childhood passions. These are not random behaviors. They are signs that something new is arriving and your inner world is preparing to receive it. So if you feel that strange certainty, do not doubt it. Do not rush it either. Be present with it. Let it expand. Let it shape you from the inside out. Because what is coming is not just a moment or an event. It is a version of you that your past self prayed would one day awaken. What you are feeling is not a prediction. It is a reunion with what is already yours. There comes a sacred moment when the universe is no longer asking if you want more. It is asking if you are ready for more. Life has not been testing you to measure your pain tolerance. It has been preparing you to become someone who can carry light without letting it blind you. The challenges you faced were not obstacles to your worth. They were invitations to embody your strength with humility and your truth with care. You were never punished. You were being prepared. Carl Jung believed that our true self emerges only when we are willing to release the masks, roles, and beliefs that once kept us safe. And that emergence is not about performance, it is about alignment. The universe has always known your worth. The real question has always been, can you hold what you have asked for without losing who you are? It is easy to pray for abundance, but will you remain generous when it arrives? It is easy to long for love, but will you choose honesty when vulnerability is required? It is easy to want freedom, but will you honor your choices when no one is watching? The test is not in the receiving, it is in the holding. The universe is watching not what you say, but what you embody. Do your actions align with your prayers? Have you healed the parts of yourself that once sabotaged joy? Have you developed the quiet resilience to hold success without arrogance and walk with power, without abandoning your empathy? A woman in her 40s once shared how, after a long period of hardship, she finally began to see breakthroughs in her career. But just as everything was aligning, an old pattern returned. Overworking, self-sacrificing, proving her worth. She realized this was not just a moment of celebration, it was a final invitation. Not to fall into the old version of herself, but to rise into the new one. The reward was not the opportunity, it was the awareness. And she chose differently. That is how you know you have passed the test. When you respond with presence, not pressure, when you choose alignment over approval, when your becoming becomes more important than any external outcome. You were never asked to be perfect. You were asked to be real. And now, because you have faced the fire and stayed true, you are not just ready to receive what you asked for. You are ready to become the one who was always meant to live it. Let it in. Not because you earned it, but because you finally remembered you were always enough to hold it. If this message stirred something inside you, don't stop here. The next video will take you deeper into healing, growth, and self-discovery. It might just be the breakthrough your soul has been waiting for. Tap into it now. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community committed to truth, transformation, and real inner change. You're not alone on this path. I'll meet you in the following video, where we continue becoming who we were always meant to be.